Hello and welcome to FXStreet Currency in Play. I'm Matt Brown. I'm joined by Ryan Littlestone from Forexflow.live. Happy Monday to you, Ryan.
Yeah, and to you, Matt.
Well, thanks very much for coming on to the FXStreet show. Now, just starting off, the markets, it's a bit of a damp start to the week.
Yeah.
We haven't really kind of got any direction. There seems to be a lot of kind of geopolitical issues going on. Iran, obviously Spain, that's still ongoing and continuing. So certainly... For the equity markets, maybe the forex markets as well, it feels like a lot of traders are just stepping back a little bit from the market. Is that the feeling that you're getting?
Yeah, that's pretty much the case. Again, we're heavy into politics again. Brexit this morning, with May and Davis jetting off to Brussels, France, Germany, saying, they're pulling out the bit about the trade deal, potential trade deal talks. Spain, as you say, and it's just... There's so much going on, traders just don't know what to do at the moment. So they stick with what they know, and that's trading the central banks. We've obviously seen on Friday the market took a pretty dim view of CPI from the US, which was actually up, which is again a strange one. The dollar goes down when the CPI goes up, but the hurricanes played into it. So again, but once more, we're not breaking any new ranges. We're sitting within those well-trodden paths, and while you do that, the way to trade it is just pick your levels above and below the range and trade in between them.
Understood. Well, let's move on to the headlines. A little bit mixed. Euro dollar, US dollar boosted by rate hike pledge, but we have seen a bit of weakness coming into the dollar, and that's reflected in the next headline. Dollar yen, the US dollar near the two-week lows, and Kiwi dollar sits at session tops. 0.72 mark still seems elusive, however, which leads us on actually quite nicely to a few charts, and we're looking at kind of some more commodity-based FX pairs today. Kiwi dollar, Kiwi's doing quite well, but the 72 handle probably, as it says, seems a little elusive. Well, what's your take on this? Is this a short-term bounce for the Kiwi?
Yeah, again, we're in political mess over there as well. They're deciding what government they're going to put in. The party that's got the swinging seats to form a coalition with one side or the other. So while we're doing that, then we're going to sit against this 72 level. There's, we can see looking back, that's quite a big level, support and resistance. And we're going to find out, hopefully soon, which way this party is going to swing. If it goes towards the status quo, then we'll probably see a decent bounce, and we'll break that 72 level. If it goes on the other side, then it could be trouble, and we might see a decent top here at 72.
Understood. One to look out for. Moving on to its partner, the Aussie dollar. Again, it's a similar chart. The little bit of bounce we've seen of late. Just looking at the chart though, where do you see this going?
I think we can see it go north from here. I traded it against these 77.60 lows, and the big area around from there to 77, really big solid form of resistance area. Took over 2 years to break. So that's a pretty good support level to lean against, and I've gone long against it, and we got the decent break up through 78 and higher on Friday, and it's looking good. But again, we're into another big level up at 79, as you can see. Previously, when we've been above, it's been decent support and resistance as well. So again, another key moment for this pair. If you're long like I am, I may look to take some off the table on another test of 79 if it holds. Conversely, if it breaks, then that's a trade to potentially go with.
Understood. So hopefully onwards and upwards for the Aussie dollar. And finally, looking at gold versus the dollar, we had a pretty kind of steady sell-off mid-September down to recent lows that were around the 1270 mark. But since then, it's been boosted, maybe more so by a little bit of a weaker dollar. But could we test the highs that we've seen before? 1350 a month or so back, potentially.
Yeah, we could. This was a trade. I've got to give credit to my colleague at Forexflow, Cone. He tipped this trade of going long over a week ago now against the Chinese Golden Week, because that's always a period of weakness for gold. And seasonally, we tend to see a rebound. So a couple of us jumped into gold trades before, and we were looking for the 1300 break. That was the big level. We've got above it now. So potentially, we got a possibility of running to those highs. So again, you go with a trade, and while 1300 holds as support, then it's a good trade to lean against, keep it fairly tight, and look for a push higher up.
And we mentioned obviously the kind of macro and political issues going on. I mean, that always strengthens the case to be long gold.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
that could be a very interesting trade above the 1300 mark. Looking ahead at the economic calendar, now it may seem busy there, but it's actually a fairly weak day in the sense of what will move the market. Things that jump out at you? I mean, certainly we were looking at the Kiwi and the Aussie dollar, so we'd be looking at the CPI and the RBA minute meetings, I should say.
Yeah.
Meeting minutes.
Obviously, inflation is the buzzword at the moment around every central bank. So you know, we'll look at what the Kiwi numbers come out like, and if it's going to push the AUD and NZD into action or not. Same thing from the RBA. You know, we're going to hear what exactly is going on in the minutes. We know they're in neutral, so it should be sort of neutral for the currency. But the Bank of Canada Business Survey, that might be something to watch out for, because the Canadian dollar is very frisky at the moment on any news to do with the Canadian economy. You know, anything that potentially could tip the Bank of Canada into more hikes or keep them on hold. We're seeing some very decent moves, you know, sort of 70, 80 pips on what before was almost minor data. So yeah, look out for that one if there's any big swings in the numbers and what the survey respondents have to say.
Understood. And looking ahead to the week, I mean, there isn't actually that much major macro data out. I think off the top of my head, we've got CPI out of Europe and the UK, Chinese data due midweek. So anything that you're looking at on your blotter or calendar as kind of key points to really move the markets this week? Yeah,
sure. I think the pound is the one to watch, and what's going on with this trip to Brussels by May. And obviously, we've got the EU summit for them to decide whether they're going to. It's all language. Whether they're going to decide to say, give a tick and say yes, we can move on to the next lot of trade talks or next negotiation round or not. And that's going to be a big key thing. If May and Davis can get something in, my view is if May is going into Europe today or whenever, and she's taking some numbers with which to talk about the divorce settlement, if she gets some leeway on that, then that could change the minds of those in Europe, and we could get a very favourable outcome from this summit. Conversely, it could all have fallen on deaf ears, and they turn around with a big expected no, we're not progressing, and then we'll see the pound come off again, I think.
But I mean, if the talks go well, certainly that's beneficial for both the euro and the pound.
Yeah. But I think that at the moment it's all about the pound, because you know we're the country that's going to get a good deal or a hard deal, and that's pretty much what the market's trading. Europe will come after that. What people think about Europe will come after that. So get a positive headlines, and we could see the pound fly. And again, if they're not good headlines, you're going to see it dump off. But that's what the pound is at the moment. Very volatile in these Brexit headlines.
Well, on that note, Ryan, thank you very much for joining us today. That is Ryan Littlestone of Forexflow.live, live here on FX Street, Currency in Play.
Thank you.